everyone, it's Angie, and in this lesson today, I'm going to go over just the very basics of WordPress. I mean, from the basics of, right when you sign in, what you see on the back end before any other template or any other builders in there. I think, for everybody who is going to be designing their site in WordPress, it's good to know just the basics and just where simple little things are. It's all, I hope you can use this as something to go back to make sure that you understand WordPress. It really is a wonderful, wonderful, what they call CMS system or content management system. And the reason being is that it can be hosted on any server that's out there. So you don't have to go to WordPress.com if you don't want to. GoDaddy, any of those big hosting companies, they all have that. They all have the ability to be able to host a WordPress website. So it is wonderful to use. So let's go ahead and dig in. So go ahead and log in to the back end. And when you open up yours, you're probably going to see the back that is similar to what you see here on mine. This is the dashboard or the admin area. And we'll just go down, we'll just go all the way down through this. Now, one thing that I want to show you that I do when I'm designing on any of my WordPress websites, I always go up here where it says my blog and I go to that visit site. I will go ahead and right click on that and open it up in a new tab. So I always have another tab open with the front of my website so I can kind of see what it is I'm doing. As I make changes, I get to see it. Okay, so here we are. Now, one of the cool things is on this screen, you can also change things. You can close them up so you don't see all those things there. You can choose on screen options what you want to see. So if the only thing you wanted to see was the welcome, we could take all this other stuff off. Pretty nice, huh? Simple little trick. Any updates that come through for your website, for WordPress or your plugins, anything on the site will come through here. And a lot of times you'll see a little circle with a 1 or a 2 or 3 or however many things that need updated. It's taken care of there. So we'll click on updates. Everything's up to date, so I don't have to worry about that. But you'll notice that you can't miss it when you get in the back end if something needs updated. And knock on wood, typically every time I've needed to update things, I don't have issues with it. Again, because WordPress is so well known and their updates are phenomenal. So you shouldn't have any issues with that. If by chance you are nervous about doing that, what I would make sure that you have with any of your WordPress hosting is make sure that you have backups available. I use a service that I'll talk about in another. I'll talk about that in another video. But I use ManageWP for mine. It's managewp.com. There are tons of places that do backups for you. If you host on GoDaddy, if you host on any of the major companies, you can request backups. And if your website or the website you're doing for somebody involves a lot of changes, like they're going to be doing changes either every day or every week or even, a couple times a month, I would go ahead and do the daily updates if you can. If it's, not going to be too expensive for you, it's well worth it. If not daily, do weekly. And that way you have access just in case you did an update and something screwed up your site. So that's just a word of warning. Posts you'll see there's posts and pages, and you're probably wondering what is the difference between a post and a page. Well, when WordPress was created, it was created for bloggers. It was not created originally to be fancy standalone sites. I mean, it was specifically there for blogging, for people writing. And so that's the way it was created. And posts were what most people used. They're just like pages, except it's just basically used for writing your blog posts that you see out there. So we'll take a look at them. We'll look at the Hello World is always loaded up into the back end of WordPress. And you see, this is the post. So you've got the title and you've got the welcome. And then you have information over here. We'll just look at everything. This is where you want to add a block. If I click on that, it brings up all these pretty cool things that you can pick from. This is way different than it used to be when I first started using WordPress. They never had all these blocks. So if you're starting now into it, it's wonderful if you just use it's called Gutenberg. If you just use this type of formatting, there's so much stuff that you can do with it. So you may want to look through it. Probably, you're going to be here on the most common blocks, which would be the paragraph and the image and the heading. And it's so nice over here, it kind of gives you an idea of what exactly each one of those are. So I don't need to go through and explain them, but if you want to go through and look at them, after this video, do it. The more you know about those blocks, the better off you'll be. But all I have to do, like on this one, is click on it. And it adds it right here. This is the block. So then I can start typing whatever I want. And then I would hit update and that would save it to that page. Now, what we want to do is we also want to look at everything else up here. You've got an undo, content structure, block navigation, and tools. Let's look at the tools. Pretty cool. Block navigation is paragraph. Content structure, it's going to tell you everything about that particular post. Now we're going to go over here and we'll take a look at the things over here on the right-hand side. You can switch this post to draft versus being live. If you go here, you can tell when I click on that goes away. That right-hand sidebar goes away. But we want to see it because I want to show you everything on here. On the document information, it's going to show you the visibility, which you can change the visibility to public, private, and password protected. So it's really nice. You can password protect one page if you want to. Private is good if you have multiple people that are looking, maybe looking at the site. You can make it private. You can also set things to be published ahead of time. So if I know I want a couple different posts that I've written for next week, I want to publish them at particular certain times next week, like maybe Wednesday and Friday. I can do that by setting the date here. I can stick this particular post to the top of what's called the blog roll. Every time you make a post and then you make a new post, it's always going to appear one right after the other. So you can stick it to the top of the page. You can move something to trash. Permalinks is actually what you see up in that address bar up here. It's what you'll see up there every time a new post or a new page is created. Categories, I only have one category, which is uncategorized right now, because that's what WordPress comes with when it is installed. But you can create new categories for your posts, and it's the same thing for pages when we get in there. Tags, you can tag your post if, let's say it's baking. Maybe it's a post about baking apple pies. You could put baking as one of the tags and apple pie as another tag. A featured image, definitely you can always select a featured image. I think it's a great idea. It would be something that would load up here up at the top of your page, and also in a blog roll on the front. That's the image that's going to appear on the front. An excerpt is optional. That would be kind of like what I think of as kind of like a sales tool or a sales paragraph. Discussion, I typically, unless you have a blog that you are going to be maintaining and you're going to be watching over, I don't usually allow comments. But if you are watching it and you keep up with it, you can allow comments and monitor them. But typically, most of the time, I don't have my comments available. We'll go to block. And let's see, there's a block. This is going to give you more advanced settings on the particular block that you highlight. Those 3 dots just allows you to see a few more different options. With the editor, the visual editor, you're probably always going to want the visual editor versus the code editor. Okay. Now that we've played with this post, once you're done, you can always click update, and that's going to update it on the front. So you'll see my funky wording now on the front. See? Right there. And because I'm on the front end, I can also edit it like that. Takes me right there because I'm logged in. So that's pretty nice. Now we're going to go back to where we were because I want to see what it looks like live. And we're going to go now, here's where the categories are for your posts. You could make the new category back in the post, or you can make categories here. If you know ahead of time what your categories are going to be, like for instance, let's just say it's a baking site. You could have pies, you could have cakes, cookies, muffins. You could have all those different things as different categories. And that's where you would put it. And then you would just hit add new category and it would appear over here. Like, let's say pies. There you go. It's extremely easy. Now we're going to go down to media. Since we're just going to go right down the side. The media library is just that. That's what it's for. It's for your images. It's for your graphics, your logo. You load PDFs or documents here. Everything that has to do with like a picture or something like that, or PDF, gets loaded into the media manager. And all you do is click on Add New, select Files, and then you browse to the picture or whatever it is that you want to load up, and it's going to load it here. Now, sometimes I want you to keep this in mind, that if that image is too large or that PDF or document is too large, it may not load. It definitely may not load in the back end, and you'd get an error up here because, for me, my maximum upload size is 80 megabytes. You may have a smaller size that you're allowed to load up. How do you get that changed? A lot of times your server company can change that for you. So that would be something that you would want to go ask. If it's GoDaddy, ask GoDaddy if your upload file size limit can be changed. Now we're going to take a look at the image in the Media Manager, and look here, you can view these. I like to view it in the icon view, but you can also do it in a list view too. If you have a lot of images, sometimes it's easier to see it this way, but I personally like it this way. We're going to open up this one of Karen the cat. And you have all this information over here, which a lot of times people will kind of skip over that, but you don't want to do that. And the reason why you don't want to do that is because the search engines will read this alternative text. And especially for people who are visually impaired, this is where having a good descriptive title of "This is Karen the cat" will help them out. So if they're on there, their particular software that reads websites reads the images by the alternative text. So that's really why you want to have that in there. Typically, you want to make sure the title of your image is actually the title of it. So really, this should be, before I even load it up, it should be Karen the cat. It should be the name of my image. You can put a caption and description in there if you want. And then you just click out of it because it saves it automatically what you put in there. Pages. Oh, one more thing about images. Typically throughout the whole thing, you can pull in images into your post or your pages very, very easy. PDFs and documents are different. Still, right now, the media library does not support that with WordPress. It doesn't handle the PDFs and documents as well. So a lot of times what you have to do in order to get a particular PDF in there is you have to, in like your post or in your page, you have to copy this link here. You would copy it and you would paste it. Let's go to pages. These are the pages that are automatically loaded, again, on a WordPress installation. You have your privacy policy. It's a draft one. It's a very simple one, but you can use it on your website. So you could go to it and just fill in your information, your company information in there. And then what you would want to do is you would want to save it or publish it because it comes in as a draft. So now it's live. Now, as you can see, the pages look a lot like the posts. They're almost identical, almost completely identical. And the thing is there's so much more now that you can do on posts than you could ever do before too. You have all the access to the Gutenberg blocks in both pages and posts. So you can really get creative on how you even create a website, even just on the basic WordPress. So adding a new page is simple. Click on Add New. You give it the title and you can start writing or choose a block. So it's pretty self-explanatory. And over on this side, it's pretty much the same things that you have access to. Now we're going to come down here to comments. If you have comments available or allowed on your site, this is where you can go to monitor those comments. Either approve them or disapprove them or trash them, whatever you want to do. So they'll appear here. Appearance. A lot of times WordPress, it depends on what company you're getting your hosting from or whoever loaded up WordPress to the server for you. A lot of times they'll come with multiple themes that are already included in it that you can pick between. And so typically everybody loads the latest one in, but some of these other ones you may like for a startup for your site. So you can choose any one of these and it's easy to activate them. You just click activate or you can see a live preview. So it's really nice. I mean, they give you at least some different options that you can use. You can also add new themes this way, which, honestly, I don't do it. I don't add themes this way from other companies just because I like to purchase extra themes from bigger companies that do updating all the time. So that's just my personal preference. So that is totally up to you of whether you want to use, one of these from other companies. Typically, most of them don't have a lot of options that you can make to make them look really cool. But I'll tell you what, it's a lot better than it ever was before. So if you just have a very simple site you're making, probably one of these templates would work out really good for you, so you can load it up. Now we're going to go to the customizer. The customizer is just that. It allows you to customize different parts of the WordPress website. So this is nice now because it's going to show you and allow you to click on this little pencil icon to take you exactly where to change this. Like if I want to change the title here, or if I want to add my logo, I can do that right here. You can have the site title or the tagline, both of them there. And this is where you'd load your favicon. That little icon that appears right up here, that W, you can change that to something of your own. It gives you the size specifications that you can use for that. If you want to load up your logo, you just click Select Logo. And if you've already loaded it into the Media Manager, you'll see it here. Or you can go ahead and upload your logo there. So this isn't that hard. Let's make sure site identity didn't have anything else. Okay. Sometimes when you load up other themes that you download, there'll be a few more things here on the side versus what you're seeing here right now. So don't be alarmed if something else appears in here. Some templates have other things for you. Colors are just that. You can set the background color to whatever color you want. It's a little bright, so we'll go a little lighter than that. And I can select my header color. I can do that. No, I don't want it quite that dark, so we'll just go, you know what? I think I want a cream. More of a creamy color. There. That's going to be my header and footer. Theme options. You can show the search, show the author bio or take it away, show a summary, cover template, if you just read through these, then you're able to see you can do overlay background colors and text colors. It's just really, really neat if you have a fixed background image up here. This is the fixed background image that again allows you to go into the Media Manager and pick an image. Like let's go ahead and go in. We'll go in there and we'll put that one. There's the background image. And I'm going to select a color for the overlay. Now the menus, there's a different location where we work with menus. So I'm not going to do it here. I typically like to work in the menus at a different section. Same with widgets, but this is going to show you the widgets that are being used. Homepage settings. This is where you can get a little bit creative. A typical blog website will show the latest posts. So it'll, like I was talking about, when you add a new post, it'll show the next one on top of it unless the one is pinned to the top. It'll keep doing a roll. That's what they call a blog roll. So it'll keep putting them one right over the other. Or you can select a static page. So if there was a particular page that you already had created in there that you had some neat things on, you could make it the actual home page. And here's how you do it. you select it here. So let's just click the sample page. And there's the sample page. Except I have that background on there that I don't want. So we're going to go back and we're going to take that background image off because it is not going to work with my wording and stuff. So now the background color is going to show. Additional CSS, only if you're familiar with CSS and style sheets do you ever get involved in changing anything here. So you're probably not going to do it. So then when everything's the way I like it, I'm going to hit publish. Now, a lot of times also in these very simple themes that are loaded in there, you don't really have a lot of options in terms of changing fonts or changing sizes. It just doesn't give you those options. So that is another reason why I like to use more advanced builders and more advanced themes. Totally up to you. But again, I'm just showing you the basics of WordPress here. So now we're going to click out of that. Now we're going to go into widgets. Over here, you're going to see these are the two areas on the website, footer 1 and footer 2, that are down here. And we have listed search, recent posts, and recent comments. Search, recent posts, recent comments. So we could take this out if we didn't want it. Maybe we don't want the recent posts either, or the recent comments. Maybe I want all of that stuff out of there. That's how you take it out. So there you see it's gone. Now maybe I want to add something different to it. Maybe I want to add my own text to it. So here's what I do. I just drag that up there and drop it in and put this is the title. This is the text. And then I'd hit save. And if we go back and I refresh, there's my little widget. So you really can have fun with that. And if I added another one, like let's say I went ahead and added a calendar, I can also move that up and down. You can switch any of these just like that by dragging it up and down. Click on it and drag it. So it's really a cool feature. Very easy to use. And again, you might see, depending on what template, if you decided to load a different template, you'll see possibly different widgets here, and you may see different spots available here. Like I can move this over here if I want to. We're going to delete that. We'll delete that and the meta. And now that I have both of those with just one in it, there you go. So really easy, but really a lot of fun to add widgets. The menus, this is where I like to work with the menu. Now, the one thing with WordPress is when it's loaded up, it doesn't have a menu that is structured at first. So this is one of those things that you have to do. And what I call my main menu, I call it main menu, and then I click create menu. Now, most of the time I will view all the pages that are there, and it's typically only a few. And usually there's a home, usually. But we're going to put sample page. That's our front page, actually. That's the home. We're going to add that to the menu. And what I typically do, whichever one I've made as my home page, I open that up and then I type in home. Now, because I want this to appear at the top, I'm going to put it at the desktop horizontal menu. And you know what? I'm going to put it in the footer too. And I want it as mobile. Not all of them will have all these choices. A lot of times it'll have possibly a primary menu depending on your template. So typically you want primary. And then you hit Save Menu. And if we go back to the blog and refresh, there's my one menu item up there in the top bar. And also down here in the footer. This is the footer area. Background, there again, you can change the background. It's just a quick little button to get you there. We didn't want the background image, so we're going to get out of that. Theme editor, I wouldn't touch that. I'll show you. This has to do with more of the code, and you don't want to get in there. It will mess up your site. So go back. Plugins. Plugins are different things that you can put within the website to do different things, to do more advanced things. If you're just doing this and you want it to look like a template that you may have already loaded up in the back end, and there's nothing else that you think you need, then you don't need to worry about this. I usually do activate the Ask-A-Met, and you just go through the instructions when you do that. Hello Dolly, I don't worry about, I don't activate it. Usually I delete it. And I have Loganizer in here. It just depends on your server as to what they put in there. This is for protection on logging in and brute force attacks on your website from bots, things that travel around the website to try to hack into websites. This is what our server company puts on it. So you may have that, you may have something else in there. There are all kinds of plugins that can do so many things. So this is something that I'm not going to get into right now. I will get into it in other courses, but this is where you would add new plugins. And you can do that by clicking Add New. You can upload plugins that maybe you have downloaded from the internet as well. Again, use caution when you're downloading or uploading a plugin that you search for in here. You would search like here, like let's say images. You're going to get all kinds of things that you can load up to your website. Some things work great and are wonderful, some of the plugins. Others, they might not have a good rating. You may want to look to see where it's coming from, because these plugins are loaded up into the into WordPress from other countries into the repository. So you don't always know what the coding is like, whether there's any holes in it. You just don't know. So what I typically do is I look to make sure that it's compatible with my version, because you can see those that have the check marks are compatible. And like, see, this one is untested. So I typically don't load up anything that isn't tested with my version. And I really look at how many installs are already done. If it has a lot of installs and a lot of stars, then I usually feel comfortable with it. A lot of times as well, I'll pick plugins that are something that I have to pay for. Like it'll let me install a particular plugin, like a light version of it. Then I can find out if I like it. If I like it, I'll typically get the pro version. And the reason being is that way I know that that plugin is being worked on all the time and will stay up to date no matter what. So that's usually my rule of thumb for them. Users is just that. You can control the users that are within your website. And for me, and for you, if you're in the back end, you're usually an administrator, so you can do everything. You'll see everything on the sidebar. You can add people in and you can make them actually have different levels. You can make them an administrator. You can make them a publisher. Let's do the add new. This is the role. You can make them a contributor, an author, editor, administrator. All of those have different things that they see on this sidebar, and typically the author and editor are the only ones that are allowed to publish. So you could have someone in there as a contributor, and it won't, if they contributed a story to your blog, they could write it. They could go in, you could give them access and they could write it, but it would not get made public until you as an administrator or as an editor approved it. So it's really nice. That's really nice. Tools. Typically, there's not a lot that you'll probably be working with in the tools section. The settings, yes. Let's go to the settings. The general settings, you want to make sure that you go in there and in the beginning you want to give your site a title and a tagline. Don't change anything on this, on the WordPress URL or the site address URL. Don't get into that, because if you change something in there, it will probably crash your site. I would only have someone who really knows what they're doing mess with that particular section. Your admin email, you can put on here if anyone can register on the site. If they do register, you can give them a role, so you could automatically make them a contributor if you wanted to. Most of the time people just do subscriber if they allow them. And then you would hit save changes. On the writing, I don't really change a lot on there. I mostly go into the reading. I will make a change on the reading, but I showed you on the appearance and customize where we kind of did this. This is another section where you can change the front and how it looks, and where we did the home page there. That's what the home page looks like now. But you can change it to your latest post if you'd rather do that, which I'll show you. We'll go back to that then, like that. Then you would hit save changes. Discussion is where you can keep track of the comments, of whether you want to allow comments or not. And typically I do not allow, so I usually take off that anyone can post a comment, and then I would hit save. And for the most part, you may not have that, so I'm not even going to go in that with you. I can collapse my menu like that if I want to see full screen. There you go. So that's, I know it's a lot, and it seems to be a lot, but it's really not. But I think it's always still good for you to know exactly what you have going on over here on the side. Now, anytime that would look different is if you load up a whole system, a whole website that has a template and everything in there with plugins already involved. A lot of times different plugins will show up in their own separate spot over here if it's a large one. So just keep that in mind. If something has been loaded up for you already, you might see more things in here. But this is just a basic WordPress installation. So up here is where I can change my profile. I can put my profile picture in there, and I can also log out. This is where you typically log out. So we'll just go ahead and do that. And we'll just look at the front. And that's what it looks like without the editor at the top. So it doesn't look bad at all. So hopefully this has helped you to at least know the basics, the 101 basics of a WordPress website. So hopefully this helped you. If you need anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out, or reach out into our forum as well. We'll have the link below to it. So I hope it helped you, and have a great day. Bye.